Hello everyone, this is Miss Paula and we're going to learn some more English grammar. Today we will learn more about the simple present tense. This time for the use of routines, but to make questions. So what do we need to take into account when we speak about routines in the simple present? In a previous video, we learned about simple present for affirmative and negative statements. You can find the link in our playlist. Now, we learned that the simple present tense uses two different auxiliaries. If you speak about I, you, we, and they, we use the auxiliary do. And if we speak about he, she, and it, we use the auxiliary does. Those auxiliaries will be useful for us to make questions. And we continue talking about routines, one of the simplest uses of the simple present tense. Let's have a look at some examples. If I want to talk about you, I will ask, do you get up at 7 o'clock? Have a look at the auxiliary. Do. Do you get up at 7 o'clock? The word order for questions is different from the affirmative and the negative statements. Look at the instructions. Auxiliary, subject, verb. Do you get up at 7 o'clock? When this is a yes-no question, we need to answer them with the auxiliaries as well. The question begins with do, so my answers will be with do or don't, if it is affirmative or negative answer. Look at the possibilities. Do you get up at 7 o'clock? For an affirmative answer, yes, I do. The question is with do, I answer with do. For a negative answer, do you get up at 7 o'clock? No, I don't. For the negative answer, for a question with do, I will use don't. Do you remember the auxiliary for the negative? What happens if I want to talk about another person, a third person, he, she, or it? The auxiliary that we used was does. That auxiliary appears in the questions as well. Look at the example. Does he get up at 6:30? Does he get up at 6:30? The same order as in the previous question, we have the auxiliary, the person, and the verb. Does he get up at 6:30? With two possible answers, because again, it's a yes-no question. For an affirmative answer, yes, he does. For a question for does, we answer with does. For a negative answer, no, he doesn't. So for the negative answer of does, we use doesn't. Those are two examples of yes-no questions. But we can also use question words to ask questions in the present simple. In this case, WH words, what, where, when, why, and even how, as WH words include all of those. For example, have a look at this one. Where do you work on Saturdays? The word order is still the same, but I add the question word at the beginning. Where? Where do you work on Saturdays? Look at the order. Auxiliary, person, verb. What I added is the question word. Where? Where do you work on Saturdays? This is not a yes-no question now, so I need to answer with information. The question is, where? My answer will be an affirmative statement, most probably, answering with a place. Where do you work on Saturdays? You can, for example, say, on Saturdays, I work at the university. Okay, that is just an affirmative statement. Let's have a look at a question with a question word, but in the third person now. Look at this one. What does he do in the morning? What does he do in the morning? The same word order, auxiliary person verb, with a question word at the beginning. What? What does he do in the morning? We refer to an activity and a third person singular. So again, the answer would be an affirmative statement. If I want to know what does he do in the morning, I can answer with an activity that the person does regularly. He goes to the club in the morning. He goes to school in the morning. He goes to school in the morning. Do you remember, in the affirmative statements we use the S. In the question, the S appears in the auxiliary. That's why the verb doesn't take it. Okay, but in the answer we need it. So we say again, what does he do in the morning? Suppose I want to say this question in the third person. We change. Instead of where do you work on Saturdays, I can ask where does she work on Saturday? Remember that does is for he, she, and it. So if I say, where does she work on Saturday? My answer will be, she works at university, for example. All right, so this is the structure for question making. And the main word order to remember is auxiliary person verb. Auxiliary person verb. If I want a question word at the beginning, anyway, after that, I have the auxiliary, the person, and the verb. What do you like about this? You can tell me. Thank you very much for watching, and you can ask questions below the video. Bye-bye.